You have to catch the drama that is at play in these words, because if you are my friend, then why did you bring the army? And if you are my enemy, then why did you kiss me on the cheek? You with me? And now just put yourself in this hostile, volatile moment. You have this crowd of people with swords and clubs. You have this disciples over here, and they're asking, do we fight or do we not? And all of this is going on. Have you ever been, I don't want to ask because some of you might actually tell us, have you ever been in a riot or a protest? And just, it wouldn't take much just to set this thing off. And this is kind of the scenario that we're left with. And notice what happens in verse number 51. And behold, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand. He drew his sword and he struck the servant of the high priest and he cut off his ear. One of them is like, okay, it's on. And he probably did say it's on like Donkey Kong. I'm pretty certain that was a Greek phrase. And so he's ready to fight, right? And he pulls out his sword. And everybody wants to talk about Peter's accuracy. Did he miss on purpose? Did he miss on accident? Was he just a clumsy swordsman or all this kind of stuff? And none of the New Testament writers name this as Peter except John. Because John writes after Peter is dead. And when everything is safe, and maybe he's just like, haha, Peter, let me get you while you're there, right? There does seem to be a little bit of rivalry between Peter and John. I don't know what that is. But everything is safe now. Mark records this, Luke records this, Matthew records this, but nobody names Peter because he might still be in danger, right? This still isn't safe. And what's beautiful is that he pulls this out. And this makes sense to me, right? They came looking for a fight. And the disciples believe that there's no other option but to fight. If ever there were a time to fight, now is the time to fight. And so Peter pulls out his sword and he chops off this guy's ear. And by the way, Luke is quick to remind us that Jesus took his ear and he healed it. Do you know what the last miracle of Jesus before the cross was? To heal the ear of his captor. To love his enemy, not just those who loved him. So he drew his sword, he struck his ear. And then Jesus makes this statement, and it's a very similar statement to the one he makes in a few verses down. But this is to Peter and the disciples. Notice this. Jesus said to him, put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. In other words, if you want to live by that rule, you will die by that rule. And the point here is, Peter, that is not the rule I'm playing by at this. As a matter of fact, John's account says Jesus told them this, that if my kingdom were of this world, we would fight. But my kingdom isn't of this world. And so notice what then Jesus says to Peter in verse 53. I'm so struck by 53, like it is